And why should that do it? Well, I go back to the model, my argument in code, my rhetoric, and say, okay, well, what was my theory of social violence here? And this only happens, I should mention, in the run based on the ancient social network, not the random network. In the random network, no killing here, no killing here, little bit of killing over here. So clearly it's something to do with the network patterning of connections. And I looked at it by giving, when a patron gives these outlandish, outsized gifts, his prestige goes right off the chart. And the chart and the prestige of the client goes up quite high too. And it puts them out of the game as far as all the other agents are concerned. They can never darken the door of that particular patron anymore because they just aren't good enough. And when you have enough patrons doing that, it takes them out of the game and it effectively leaves a hole in the social network. There's no economic redistribution happening anymore. There's no access to opportunities happening anymore. And it collapses. You get these deaths, you get these waves of killing. Oh, that's pretty cool. But what does it mean in terms of Roman history? Coming from a background in bricks and Roman construction and ideologies of construction, it got me thinking about competitive building displays. There was this habit amongst the Romans to give a gift in terms of a set of baths to the city, or a temple, or a bridge, or an aqueduct, or what have you. And just to put it into perspective, the Aqua Claudia, the Aqua Anio Novus, built in the 1st century Rome, these are aqueducts about 50 kilometers long. I did the math, I did the calculations of the quantities of materials used. This was employment for 30,000 men over 6 years. Okay? That's an enormous impact. That's one of these outsized gifts. So maybe if the model has any validity, if I've modeled something that reflects Roman practice, and I've run it on a starting position derived from actual historical data, and I've built a theory into it about how social violence happens based on my understanding and reading of the literature, then maybe what this is saying is, you know, competitive building projects, maybe that's an indicator for violence down the line. Kind of puts the federal fiscal stimulus in new light, you know. I mean, it's not coincidental, I think, in Montreal that there's a corruption probe happening right now in the construction industry. Have I modeled ancient Rome in any way, shape, or form? I haven't. I have modeled my understanding of what's going on, and I've tested my understanding of what's going on. You should never confuse an agent model with the thing that it's modeling. The map isn't one-to-one. When we build a model, we're modeling our own understandings first and foremost. Because if you think of it any other way, you can get into a lot of trouble. So, it's a theory of civil violence in the Roman world. I'm pretty excited about that. The paper is supposed to be coming out in Digital Studies, Champs Numériques, the journal of the Society for Digital Humanities in Canada. And I'm hoping it'll come out this month. But if anybody would like to read it, I can send you a pre-print version beforehand. And maybe it'll help fill in the gaps of anything I forgot to connect the dots in with today. So, if I've made any sense here this evening, these are the things that I'd like you to take away. The shape of the network matters. Your network topology matters, and that's your first port of call, I think, when it comes to modeling culture and agent-based modeling. Remember, cultures and history are probably the most complex things we can approach. use the network as the substrate for how the agents interact. And these are just my guidelines. I mean, these aren't commandments. I'm not coming down off Mount Sinai here. But model at the lowest practical level. Identify what it is that you're interested in and see if you can go one level down. Because if you can go one level down, then what emerges is relevant to the phenomena that you're ultimately interested in. Keep it simple, keep it descriptive. There's a model of the Anasazi in the American Southwest that tries to explain how this culture disappeared. And it's got variables up the yin-yang. It's got a list of 50 different variables that the user can control. Well, how do you know if you found anything interesting? There comes a point where you simply cannot understand. It would be a terrible thing to build a really good model that has something important to say, and you're not able to extract that because you've made your model too complicated. Complex, yes. Complicated, no. So, that's pretty much me done. And I really enjoyed myself up here. I hope you have too, and thank you for inviting me to speak.